I'm Eleanor Harper, 68 years old, and this is the story of how I lost everything and then got everything back. 3 months ago, I was shivering in my 2008 Honda Civic, the temperature reading -5 degrees Celsius, my breath turning to fog in the cramped space. 3 months before that, I'd been sleeping in the warm house I'd paid off over 30 years. Now, the back seat was my bed, the public gym my bathroom, and the Walmart parking lot my new address. My son Robert and his wife Jessica had tricked me into signing what they called insurance papers. They were actually deed transfer documents. They kicked me out with 1 suitcase and $500 in charity. Before we continue, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story truly speaks to you. I'd love to know where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. The real story begins on the night Portland saw its heaviest snowfall in 20 years. It started 3 months before that snowy night. Robert and Jessica had come to visit, their faces etched with worry lines I'd never seen before. My son, my only child, the boy I'd raised alone after his father left us when he was 5, sat across from me at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd helped him with homework for 13 years. "Mom, the company's in trouble," Robert said, his hands wrapped around the coffee mug I'd bought him for his 40th birthday. "We need you to sign some guarantee papers for a bank loan. It's just a formality." Jessica placed her manicured hand over mine. "We wouldn't ask if it wasn't absolutely necessary, Eleanor. You know that, right?" I should have read those papers. God, I should have read every single word. But when your son looks at you with the same eyes that once begged for bedtime stories, when the woman he chose to marry calls you by your first name with such warmth, you don't think about betrayal. You think about helping family. 2 weeks later, a stranger knocked on my door, a man in a cheap suit with paperwork that had my signature, my foolish, trusting signature, transferring ownership of my house to Robert and Jessica Harper. "There must be some mistake," I kept saying, even as Robert's car pulled into the driveway, even as he walked up the path with that cold expression I'd never seen before. "Mom, you're getting old," he said, not meeting my eyes. "It's better if we handle things for you now." Jessica stood behind him, counting out $500 in 20s. "This should be enough for you to find a small room somewhere. We've already found a nice senior community that takes Section 8 housing." Section 8. My son, who I'd worked double shifts to put through college, was suggesting I live on government assistance. "Robert, this is my home. I paid for this house with Dad's life insurance and 30 years of teaching 5th grade, I know." His voice had an edge I didn't recognize. "And now it's time for the next generation to have it. We're doing this for your own good." They gave me 1 hour to pack, 1 hour to fit 68 years of life into a single suitcase. I grabbed photo albums, medications, a few changes of clothes, my mother's pearl necklace, the one I'd planned to give Jessica on their 10th anniversary. As Robert pushed me toward the door, Jessica muttered something about Plan B if she causes trouble. I was too shocked to process it then, but those words would haunt me later. The neighbors watched through their curtains as I stood in the rain, my suitcase at my feet, the taxi Robert had called pulling away after the driver realized I couldn't pay for a ride anywhere meaningful with just $500 to my name. Mrs. Chen from next door started to open her door, then closed it when Jessica waved at her. The message was clear: don't interfere. That night, I slept in my car for the first time, parked behind a 24-hour grocery store. The manager knocked on my window at 3 a.m., told me to move along. I drove to another lot, then another, learning the rhythm of homelessness. Never stay in one place too long, never draw attention, never admit what's happened to you. That first week taught me things no mother should have to learn at 68. Where to park so the police won't tap on your window. How to make a single McDonald's coffee last 4 hours for the Wi-Fi and warmth. Which grocery stores let you use their bathroom without buying anything. The Walmart on 82nd Avenue became my refuge. If you parked between the RVs and the semis, if you kept your lights off and didn't run the engine too long, security usually left you alone. I learned to become invisible, a skill I never thought I'd need. 2 weeks in, at 2 a.m., someone pounded on my car window. 3 young men, drunk or high, laughing as they rocked my little Honda. "Hey, Grandma, you got any cash? Come on, open up." I lay perfectly still in the back seat, my hand on the pepper spray I'd bought with precious dollars I couldn't spare. They eventually got bored and left, but I didn't sleep the rest of that night, or the next. The Portland winter was brutal. I bought a sleeping bag from Goodwill for $12, money I needed for food, but freezing to death wasn't an option. I'd run the car for 10 minutes every hour through the night, just enough to warm up without draining the gas tank. Gas was everything. Gas meant heat, meant I could drive to a safer spot, meant I could charge my phone, my only connection to a world that had forgotten me. I discovered the gym trick by accident. Planet Fitness offered a 7-day free trial. When that ended, I used a different email address, slightly different name, Ellen instead of Eleanor. After 3 weeks, they caught on. The young manager, couldn't have been older than 25, pulled me aside. "Ma'am, I know what you're doing," he said quietly. I braced for humiliation. My mom went through something similar. Use the shower before 6 a.m. or after 10 p.m. Don't take more than 15 minutes. I'll look the other way. His kindness broke something in me. I cried in that gym bathroom, sitting on the floor, wondering how I'd gone from teaching children to living like this. That's where I met Sam. He was 62, Vietnam vet, living in his truck for 2 years. He taught me the rules. The library for warmth and Wi-Fi during the day, which churches served free meals without sermons, how to wash clothes in a bucket, where to get free water. Never let them see you're homeless, he said. Moment they know, you become less than human to them. But Sam made one mistake. He got caught shoplifting bread from a convenience store. I watched the police take him away, his truck impounded, everything he owned gone. That could be me, I realized. One mistake, one moment of desperation, and I'd lose even the car. I started keeping a journal on my old phone, voice recordings when my hands were too cold to type. Day 37, I'd whisper into the phone. Robert hasn't returned my calls. I'm parked behind the Methodist church tonight. They don't run us off if we're gone by 6 a.m. The police started recognizing my car. Officer Martinez, badge number 4782, knocked on my window one morning. Ma'am, you can't keep sleeping here. There's a shelter on Burnside. I'm not sleeping, I lied, just resting before work. He looked at my wrinkled clothes, my unwashed hair, the blanket clearly visible in the back seat. Next time I see you here, I'm writing a citation, $500 fine. $500. The exact amount Robert had given me. The irony wasn't lost on me. December 15th, 11:47 p.m. The snow had been falling for 3 hours, thick and relentless. Portland rarely saw snow like this, the kind that shuts down a city not prepared for real winter. I was parked in my usual spot, far corner of the Walmart lot, wrapped in my sleeping bag and 2 coats, when I heard it. The screech of brakes, the sick crunch of metal on metal, then silence. Through my fogged windshield, I could barely make out the Tesla Model S that had slammed into the highway barrier about 50 feet away. No other cars around. The storm had kept everyone home, everyone except those of us who had no home to go to. I sat frozen for maybe 10 seconds. Don't get involved, Eleanor. You can't afford to draw attention. But then I saw the driver's head slumped against the wheel, blood visible even from this distance. My feet moved before my brain could stop them. 25 years of being a teacher, 3 years of volunteering as a nurse's aide before Robert was born. Some instincts don't die just because life kicks you down. The man was unconscious, blood streaming from a gash on his forehead. Expensive suit, probably late 50s, graying hair. His phone had been thrown from the center console, screen cracked but still working. The screen showed a text half-written, "Sarah, I'll be late to the—" Sir, can you hear me?" I pressed my old dishcloth against his head wound, trying to stop the bleeding. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused. "The meeting. Sarah needs to know about the meeting," he mumbled. "It's okay. Help is coming." I lied. I hadn't called anyone yet. My phone had 12% battery, and I'd learned to save it for real emergencies. But this was a real emergency, wasn't it? His eyes focused on me for just a moment, and something strange passed across his face. Recognition? No, that was impossible. You look like—" Then he passed out again. I called 911, gave them the location. While we waited, I kept pressure on his wound, kept talking to him even though he couldn't hear me. "You're going to be okay. You've got someone named Sarah waiting for you. You can't leave her, you hear me?" The police arrived first. Officer Martinez, of course, because the universe has a sense of humor. "Ma'am, what are you doing here?" "I saw the accident. I was trying to help." "You were parked illegally on private property during a snow emergency." He pulled out his citation book. "That's a $500 fine." "I was saving this man's life!" "And you were trespassing to do it. License and registration, please." The EMTs loaded the unconscious man into the ambulance. One of them, a young woman with kind eyes, whispered, "Thank you," to me. But it didn't matter. Martinez was already writing the ticket. $500. Every penny I had left. I looked at the ticket, then at the ambulance pulling away, its lights painting red and blue streaks across the snow. "I can't pay this," I told Martinez. "Then you'll need to appear in court. Failure to appear is a warrant for your arrest." He handed me the citation. "Maybe next time you'll think twice about where you park." I wanted to scream at him, wanted to tell him about Robert, about Jessica, about 3 months of hell. Instead, I just took the ticket and walked back to my car, my feet numb in shoes held together with duct tape. The man's blood was still on my hands. I wiped them on the snow, watching the red disappear into white. Sarah, whoever she was, would get her person back. But who would give me back mine? I sat in my car until dawn, the ticket on my dashboard, watching the snow bury everything in pristine white. If only it could bury the past 3 months, too. The temperature dropped to -10. I couldn't run the engine. Gas was too precious now that I'd need it to get to court. The morning after the accident, I did something I'd sworn I'd never do again. I called Robert. "Mom?" His voice was cautious, like I was a telemarketer he wasn't quite sure about. "It's early." "Robert, I need help. I got a ticket for $500, and if I don't pay it..." His laugh cut through me like winter wind. "You're calling me for money? After everything?" "After everything? Robert, you took my house." "We took responsibility for an asset you couldn't manage anymore. Jessica says you're being dramatic about the whole situation." Jessica's voice in the background. "Is that her again?" "God, Robert, just hang up." "Please," I said, hating the begging in my voice. "I saved someone's life last night and they fined me for it. I just need..." Jessica must have grabbed the phone. "Eleanor, you need to stop this. Stop calling. Stop playing the victim. You're embarrassing yourself and us. We have friends who've seen you lurking around parking lots like some bag lady. I'm living in my car because of you. You're living in your car because you refuse to accept help. There are shelters, programs, social services. But no, you'd rather make us look bad. Don't call again." The line went dead. I tried everyone after that. My sister in Florida, who was battling cancer and could barely afford her treatments. My former colleagues who'd retired to fixed incomes. My best friend from college who'd stopped returning my calls weeks ago when she realized I wasn't just going through a rough patch. The food bank on MLK Boulevard was my last hope for at least getting something to eat. But when I got to the counter, the volunteer shook her head. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but we need proof of address. A utility bill, lease agreement, something showing you live in the service area." I don't have an address right now." Her expression shifted from apologetic to suspicious. "Then you need to go to the Homeless Services Center first. Get registered in the system." The Homeless Services Center was 6 miles away. Gas I couldn't spare. And registering meant admitting what I'd become. Sam's words echoed, "Moment they know, you become less than human." I sat in my car in the food bank parking lot and did something I hadn't done in 10 years. I prayed, "God, if you're listening, I don't know what lesson this is supposed to teach me, but I'm learning it, okay? I'm learning it. Please, just give me something. Anything." My phone rang. Unknown number. Probably a debt collector for medical bills I couldn't pay, but I answered anyway. "Mrs. Harper? Mrs. Eleanor Harper?" The voice was professional, crisp. "My name is James Patterson from Wellington Associates. I'm calling on behalf of Mr. Marcus Wellington." "I don't know any Marcus Wellington. If this is about a debt..." No, ma'am. Mr. Wellington is the gentleman you assisted last night. He'd like to meet with you. Can you come to our offices downtown immediately? A scam. Had to be. People like me don't get calls from downtown lawyers. I can't afford parking downtown. We'll validate. The building has a garage, 400 Southwest 5th Avenue, 40th floor. Mr. Wellington is quite insistent about seeing you today. What did I have to lose? If it was a scam, at least I'd be in a warm building for an hour. The drive downtown used the last of my gas tank's reserves. The parking garage attendant looked at my beat-up Honda with disgust, but took the validation ticket the receptionist had waiting for me. The elevator to the 40th floor was all mirrors and marble. I caught my reflection. 3 months of car living had aged me 5 years. My coat was clean but threadbare. My hair, despite my best efforts in the gym bathroom this morning, looked exactly like what it was. Homeless hair. The receptionist, a young woman who probably made more in a month than I'd made in a year teaching, smiled professionally. "Mrs. Harper, they're waiting for you in the conference room. Can I get you coffee? Water?" Coffee would be, "Yes, please." She brought me coffee in a real mug, not paper, and a plate of pastries I tried not to fall on like a starving animal. Which I was. The conference room doors opened, and I nearly dropped the mug. The man from the accident walked in, a bandage on his forehead, but otherwise looking like he hadn't almost died 12 hours ago. Behind him, 2 other suits, lawyers by the look of them. "Mrs. Harper," he said, and his voice was warm, genuine. "I'm Marcus Wellington. You saved my life last night. Have you ever felt like the universe was testing you to your absolute limit? At that moment, I didn't know that sometimes the universe pushes us to the very bottom of the abyss so we can bounce back stronger than ever. If this story is touching your heart, please like and share it with someone who needs to hear that things will get better. And tell me, have you ever helped a complete stranger? Your story might inspire someone else. Now let me tell you about the miracle that was about to unfold. Marcus Wellington sat across from me in that conference room, and I kept waiting for the catch. Rich men don't just summon homeless women to 40th floor offices to say thank you. "Mrs. Harper, I need to tell you something," he began, his hands folded on the mahogany table. "Last night, you didn't just save my life. You gave me the chance to make something right." "I don't understand." He pulled out a checkbook, who still uses checkbooks, and started writing. "The officer who fined you. Badge number 4782, correct? That ticket was wrong. You were being a good Samaritan." "Mr. Wellington, I appreciate this, but—" He slid the check across the table. $500. "This covers the fine." I stared at it. Pride warred with desperate need. "I can't take charity." "It's not charity." His eyes were intense, gray-blue like winter sky. "It's an investment." "Investment in what? I'm a 68-year-old woman living in my car. I have nothing to invest in." One of the lawyers cleared his throat. "Mr. Wellington, perhaps we should—" Marcus held up his hand. "Mrs. Harper, I know about your situation. I know what your son did." My blood went cold. How could you possibly— "When someone saves my life, I make it my business to know who they are." He leaned back in his chair. "Eleanor Harper, retired 5th grade teacher, Portland Public Schools, 32 years of service, widowed at 33, raised your son alone, paid off your mortgage 5 years ago, until 3 months ago when Robert Harper and Jessica Harper fraudulently obtained your property through forged documents. The documents weren't forged. I signed them. I was stupid enough to— You were trusting. There's a difference." He stood, walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Portland. "Do you know what I do, Mrs. Harper?" "No." "I run Wellington Technologies. We make security software, protect people from digital theft, fraud, identity crimes. The irony isn't lost on me that while I protect strangers from cybercrime, you were being robbed by your own flesh and blood in the most analog way possible." One of the lawyers slid a folder across to me. "Mr. Wellington has a proposition." Marcus turned from the window. "I own a property in the Pearl District, 4 bedrooms, river view, been sitting empty for 2 years since my divorce. I'd like you to have it." The room spun. I'm sorry. What? The house. And this. Another check appeared. This one had too many zeros. $3 million. This is insane. You don't give someone $3 million for pulling them out of a car. You're right. You don't. Marcus sat back down, pulled out his phone, scrolled to something. Then he turned it toward me. A photograph, old, slightly yellowed, even in digital form. A little girl in a hospital bed, maybe 5 years old, and next to her, a young nurse who looked exactly like me 35 years ago. Her name is Sarah, Marcus said quietly. My daughter. 30 years ago, she went into anaphylactic shock at a birthday party. The hospital was understaffed, overwhelmed. One nurse broke protocol, ran to the restricted medication room, grabbed an experimental EpiPen that wasn't approved for pediatric use yet. That nurse saved my daughter's life. My hands shook. I remembered that night. The little girl turning blue, the doctor saying there was nothing more they could do, my decision to break every rule I'd been taught. I lost my job over that, I whispered. They said I could have killed her, using non-approved treatment. But you didn't. You saved her. And you never even knew her last name, did you? We were just another emergency case to you. How did you? I've been looking for you for 30 years, Eleanor. When Sarah graduated medical school, yes, she became a doctor because of you. I hired investigators to find the nurse who saved her. But you'd changed careers, moved districts, and the hospital had destroyed the old employment records. The lawyer spoke up. What Mr. Wellington is trying to say is that this isn't charity or even gratitude. It's a debt being repaid. With interest, Marcus added. Significant interest. I looked at the check again. $3 million, a house, safety, security, everything Robert had stolen, and more. There must be conditions. Marcus smiled for the first time. Just one. You have to promise me something. Here it comes, I thought. The catch. There's always a catch. Promise me you'll never give up on yourself again. And, he paused, let me throw a public event to honor what you did, both 30 years ago and last night. A public event? I touched my unwashed hair self-consciously. Mr. Wellington, I don't think... Please, call me Marcus. He leaned forward. Eleanor, you've spent 3 months invisible. It's time to be seen again. The lawyers exchanged glances. The older one, Mr. Patterson, slid another document toward me. This is the deed transfer for the Pearl District property. No strings, no conditions except what Mr. Wellington mentioned. I stared at the papers. After what happened with Robert, the sight of legal documents made my stomach clench. I need to read every word this time. Take all the time you need, Marcus said. In fact, I insist you have our independent counsel review it. We'll cover their fees. Why the public event? I asked. Why does that matter? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out another photo from his wallet, a physical photo worn at the edges. The same little girl, but older, maybe 15, in a hospital bed again. Sarah had leukemia when she was 15. The chemo nearly killed her. But she kept saying, that nurse didn't give up on me when I was 5. I can't give up now. You weren't just a moment in our lives, Eleanor. You were the reason we had a life at all. My eyes burned with tears I wouldn't let fall. Not here. Not in front of these polished people in their pristine office. The event, Marcus continued, isn't just about honoring you. It's about Sarah getting to thank you. She doesn't know I've found you yet. It would be a gift to her and to me. Where is she now? Chief of Pediatric Emergency Medicine at OHSU, following in the footsteps of the nurse who saved her, except she got to be the doctor you should have been allowed to be. That broke me. The tears came then, silent but unstoppable. The older lawyer quietly pushed a box of tissues across the table. I need a few days to think, I managed. Of course, but Eleanor, where are you staying tonight? I'll be fine. Marcus shook his head. No. Patterson, call the Benson. Presidential suite, my account. I can't. You can and you will. Consider it protecting my investment. I can't have you freezing in your car when you're supposed to be at the house viewing tomorrow." "House viewing? You need to see the property, don't you? Make sure it's suitable?" Suitable. As if anything with 4 walls and heat wouldn't be suitable after 3 months in a Honda Civic. Patterson made the call. Within minutes, it was arranged. A hotel, a real bed, a shower with endless hot water. "There's one more thing," Marcus said as I stood to leave, clutching the check for $500. I'd left the $3 million on the table, still not believing it was real. "Your son and daughter-in-law, do they know about your current situation?" "They know. They caused it." "They caused..." His expression darkened. "Patterson, make a note. I want our investigative team to look into Robert and Jessica Harper's financial history, particularly any other property transfers in the last 5 years." "Why?" I asked. "Call it intuition. In my experience, people who steal from their mothers rarely stop at one victim." The ride to the Benson Hotel was surreal. The Uber driver, paid for by Marcus's office, didn't even blink at my appearance. The hotel staff treated me like I belonged there, even though I clearly didn't. The presidential suite was bigger than my old house. I stood in the doorway for a full minute, afraid to enter, afraid it would disappear if I blinked. The shower lasted an hour. I cried through most of it, watching 3 months of parking lot dirt swirl down the drain. Room service appeared without my ordering it. Soup, salad, fresh bread, things my stomach had forgotten how to process. That night, in a bed that cost more per night than I'd spent on food in 3 months, I pulled out my phone and opened the recording app. "Day 93, I whispered. "Something impossible happened today. I saved a man's life, and it turns out he'd been looking for me for 30 years. He wants to give me a house and $3 million. He says I saved his daughter twice. Once when she was 5, once when she was 15, and I didn't even know it. I'm lying in a bed that feels like a cloud, and I'm terrified I'll wake up back in my car. If this is a dream, please don't let me wake up. And if it's real, then maybe there really is a God, and maybe he really was listening." I fell asleep clutching my phone, the recording still running, capturing the sound of my first peaceful sleep in 3 months. The next morning, I woke up 3 times before I believed I was really in that hotel bed. The 4th time, a knock at the door made it real. Room service with breakfast and a note from Marcus. "Car will pick you up at 10 a.m. for the house viewing. M." The house in the Pearl District was everything my little ranch home had never been. Floor-to-ceiling windows, Mount Hood visible in the distance, hardwood floors that gleamed like honey. The real estate agent, a polished woman named Diane, walked me through each room like she was showing me a museum. "The kitchen was renovated last year," she said. "Viking appliances, marble countertops from Italy." I ran my hand along the cool stone, remembering my old Formica counters that Robert had called embarrassingly outdated. "I'll take it," I said. Diane laughed. "Don't you want to see the rest? Is there heat, running water, a door that locks?" "Of course, but then I'll take it." That afternoon, I sat in Marcus's lawyer's office again, this time with my own attorney, a sharp young woman named Grace Chen, who Marcus's firm had recommended. She read every line of every document out loud, explaining each clause. "It's clean," she finally said. "Completely in your favor. I've never seen a transfer this generous, with so few conditions." I signed my name with a steady hand this time. No trust, no blind faith, just understanding. The bank account was next. The manager at Wells Fargo didn't even blink when I deposited the $3 million check. Rich people, apparently, did this all the time. But when she handed me the temporary debit card, my hands shook. "Would you like to set up any automatic transfers?" she asked. "Investments? Savings goals?" "I want to set up a charity account," I heard myself say, "for homeless services." That evening, back in the hotel, I made a decision. I called my own lawyer, not Grace, but a different one who specialized in fraud. "I want to investigate a fraudulent property transfer," I told him. "My son stole my house 3 months ago. Do you have any proof? Documentation?" I thought about the recordings on my phone, every conversation I'd had with Robert in the last 3 months, All saved. I might have something. 2 days later, the investigator Marcus had hired called me. "Mrs. Harper, we found some interesting information about your daughter-in-law. Jessica Harper has been married twice before. Both ex-husbands reported significant financial losses during their divorces. One is currently homeless in Seattle." My blood ran cold. "She's done this before?" "It appears so. We're also seeing unusual activity in your son's accounts, large transfers to offshore accounts, primarily in Jessica's name." I hung up and immediately called my lawyer. "I want to press charges. Criminal fraud." "Are you sure? This is your son we're talking about." "My son stopped being my son the day he threw me out of my own home." A week passed. I moved into the Pearl District house, each night still feeling like a dream. I hired Sam, my homeless friend who'd been released from jail, as a property manager for the charity I was setting up. He cried when I offered him the job in the apartment above the garage. "Eleanor, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll help me make sure no one else has to sleep in their car in Portland winters." Then Robert called. "Mom?" His voice was different, softer. "I heard you're doing better. Living somewhere new?" "How did you hear that?" "Portland's a small city. Word gets around. Jessica and I were thinking, maybe we could come by? We have something for you." Every instinct screamed, no. But I needed to know what they wanted, needed to record it. "Tomorrow," I said, 2 o'clock. I spent that night preparing. Hidden recording devices in the living room, legal in Oregon for your own property. Grace Chen on speed dial. Marcus had insisted on having security nearby, just in case. They arrived with flowers, expensive ones, birds of paradise and roses that must have cost $200. Jessica wore a new designer dress. Robert had gotten a haircut, looked like the son I used to know. "Mom," Robert said, his eyes actually tearing up. "We were wrong. We were so wrong." Jessica dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. "We want to make things right, Eleanor. We want our family back." I let them in, offered them coffee in my new Viking appliance kitchen, and waited. Because people like Robert and Jessica always reveal themselves if you just wait. It took exactly 15 minutes. "This place is incredible," Jessica said, her eyes scanning everything like a calculator adding up values. "You must have gotten a settlement from the city about that wrongful parking ticket." "Something like that," I said. Robert leaned forward. "Mom, you're getting older. You need someone to help manage all this. We could—" There it was. "We could help you manage everything," Robert continued, pulling out a folder from his briefcase, the same briefcase I'd bought him when he graduated from law school. "I've already drawn up some papers, power of attorney, financial management, just to keep you safe." I looked at the papers he slid across my marble countertop. This time, I read every word while they watched. Financial power of attorney. Complete control over all assets. Irrevocable. "You prepared these before coming here," I said quietly. "Before your apology." Jessica's mask slipped for just a second. "We wanted to be ready to help." "Help?" I set my coffee cup down. "Like you helped me 3 months ago?" "That was different," Robert said quickly. "We were desperate then. The business was failing." "There was no business, was there?" Silence. "I had my lawyer investigate," I continued. "You've been unemployed for 2 years, Robert, living off credit cards and Jessica's, previous settlements." Jessica's face went white. "You don't know what you're talking about. Michael Patterson in Seattle. Ring a bell? Living in his car now just like I was. James Chen in Tacoma. He lost his house, too. Both your ex-husbands, Jessica. Both left with nothing." "You investigated me?" Jessica stood indignant. "How dare you? How dare I? You threw me out of my home in the middle of winter." Robert grabbed Jessica's arm. "Sit down. We can work this out." "There's nothing to work out," I said. "I want you to leave." "Mom, please, I'm your son, your only child. You can't just—" "I can, and I am. But first, I want to know something. If Marcus Wellington hadn't found me, if I was still in my car, would you be here with flowers?" Robert couldn't meet my eyes. But Jessica looked right at me. "Of course not," she said, dropping all pretense. "But he did find you. And now you have all this. More than you need. More than you deserve, frankly. A teacher with a $3 million bank account, please." "So you think you deserve it more?" "We're family," Robert said weakly. "No, family doesn't do what you did." I stood up. "I need you to leave now." "Not until you sign these papers," Jessica said, her voice hard now. "You owe us." "I owe you?" I laughed. Actually laughed. "For what?" "For raising a failure," she spat. "For making Robert so weak that he needed me to teach him how to survive. For being such a pushover that we had to take what should have been ours anyway." Robert looked at his wife in shock. "Jessica." "Shut up, Robert. Your mother has $3 million she didn't earn. We're not leaving without our share." I walked to my purse, pulled out my phone. "Would you like to repeat that? For clarity?" "Are you recording this?" Jessica lunged for my phone, but I stepped back. "I've been recording everything since you walked in, just like I recorded every conversation with Robert for the last 3 months." "That's illegal," Robert said, the lawyer in him finally waking up. "Not in Oregon, not in my own home, and not when I'm gathering evidence of fraud and attempted extortion." Jessica grabbed her purse. "We're leaving." "Good idea. But you should know Marcus Wellington is very interested in your past activities, Jessica. Both of your ex-husbands are willing to testify about what you did to them. And Robert, the house transfer? My lawyer found irregularities. Seems you had Jessica notarize documents that you witnessed. That's illegal, even if I had known what I was signing." Robert's face went gray. "Mom, you wouldn't—" "I already have. Criminal charges were filed yesterday." "You're going to send your own son to prison?" He was crying now, real tears this time. "No, Robert, you sent yourself there the day you decided I was worthless enough to throw away." Jessica was already at the door. "Come on, Robert, we need to call our lawyer." Robert stood to leave, then turned back. "I hope you're happy, Mom. All alone in your big house with your money." "I'm not alone," I said. "I have Sam, who's never stolen from me. I have Marcus and Sarah, who value what I've done. I have the 47 homeless people our charity has already helped. I have everyone except the son who betrayed me." He left then, Jessica pulling him along. I stood at my window, watching them drive away in the BMW they'd bought with the money from selling my house. Marcus had been right about the public event. It wasn't just about honoring me. It was about what would happen there, the trap that was about to spring. Because I hadn't told Robert everything. The FBI was investigating Jessica for interstate fraud, and they'd be waiting at the hotel ballroom in 2 days, when she and Robert would surely show up to make one last play for my money. By this point, my heart was pounding like a drum at a festival. Can you guess what I did next? Sometimes the people closest to us are the ones who hurt us the most, but that pain teaches us the most valuable lessons. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, type "strong" in the comments below. Let's show each other that no one is alone in their healing journey. And if you want to know the ending, trust me, karma is about to do its job. But not in the way you think. The Hilton Ballroom was packed with 200 of Portland's business elite, medical professionals, and media. Marcus had pulled out all stops. Banners reading, "Celebrating Portland's Hidden Heroes," hung from the ceiling. I stood in a new dress, the first new dress I'd bought in 5 years, watching people I'd never met applaud for something I'd done 30 years ago. Sarah Wellington took the stage first. She was beautiful, confident, everything I'd imagined she'd become when I held her 5-year-old body in that emergency room. She didn't know I was in the audience yet. "30 years ago," she began, "a nurse broke every rule to save my life. She lost her job for it. She never sought recognition, never asked for thanks, never even told anyone what she'd sacrificed. I became a doctor because of her. I've saved hundreds of children because she saved me first." The screen behind her lit up with the old photo, her in the hospital bed, me beside her. "That nurse is here tonight," Sarah continued. "Dad?" Marcus joined her on stage. "Eleanor Harper, would you please come up here?" The spotlight found me. The crowd turned, and there, in the back, I saw them. Robert and Jessica, dressed to the nines, trying to blend in with the donors and society people. I walked to the stage on legs that barely worked. Sarah met me halfway, tears streaming down her face. "It's really you," she whispered. Then louder to the crowd, "This is Eleanor Harper. She saved my life, lost her career for it, and never asked for anything in return." The applause was thunderous. But I was watching Robert and Jessica. They were moving closer to the stage, Jessica's phone out, recording everything. Planning to use this somehow, I was sure. Marcus took the microphone. "Eleanor's story doesn't end there. 3 months ago, she became homeless when her own son and daughter-in-law fraudulently stole her home." Gasps from the crowd. Robert tried to back away, but the crowd was too thick. "Despite living in her car in freezing temperatures, she saved my life last month when I crashed during the snowstorm. She was fined $500 for parking illegally while she kept me from bleeding to death." More gasps. Someone shouted, "That's outrageous!" Tonight, we're not just celebrating Eleanor. We're launching the Eleanor Harper Foundation for Homeless Services, funded with an initial donation of $10 million. $10 million, not 3. I turned to Marcus in shock. "The 3 was just for you," he whispered. "This is for everyone else you're going to save." That's when Jessica made her move. She pushed through the crowd, Robert trailing behind. "This is all very touching," she called out, her voice carrying across the ballroom. "But I think people should know the truth about Eleanor Harper." The room went silent. Marcus gripped my hand. Jessica climbed the stairs to the stage uninvited. Eleanor Harper abandoned her son when he needed her most. She refused to help with his struggling business, forced him to take desperate measures. And now she's turned him against his own wife, his own family, all for money she didn't earn. "That's not—" I started, but Marcus squeezed my hand. "Let her finish," he whispered. "The FBI agents need her to incriminate herself." FBI agents? I scanned the crowd and noticed several people in dark suits positioned near the exits. Jessica continued, warming to her theme. "She's playing victim when really she's a manipulative old woman who—" "Mrs. Jessica Harper?" A woman in a dark suit stepped onto the stage. "Agent Martinez, FBI. You're under arrest for interstate fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to commit elder abuse." Jessica tried to run, but another agent was already there. The handcuffs clicked on. "Robert!" she screamed. "Do something!" Robert stood frozen in the crowd, his face white. "Mr. Robert Harper," Agent Martinez continued, "you're also under arrest for fraud and elder abuse." "Mom!" Robert called out as they cuffed him. "Mom, please, tell them it's a mistake." I walked to the microphone. The room was dead silent. 3 months ago, I said, my voice steady, my son told me I was too old to manage my own life. He was right about one thing. I was too old. Too old to keep enabling him. Too old to keep pretending that love means accepting abuse. Too old to not know my own worth. I looked directly at Robert. "I loved you more than life itself. I would have given you everything if you just asked, but you didn't ask. You took. And when you had taken everything, you threw me away like garbage." "I'm sorry," he cried out as they led him toward the exit. "Mom, I'm sorry." "I know you are," I said. "You're sorry you got caught." The agents led them both out. The room erupted in chaos, reporters rushing for the doors, guests talking excitedly. But Sarah Wellington walked over and hugged me tight. "You saved me twice," she said. "Once from dying, once by showing me what real strength looks like." Marcus took the microphone again. "Ladies and gentlemen, Eleanor Harper, a woman who lost everything and chose to help others anyway, a woman who could have become bitter but chose to become better. This is what heroism looks like." The next morning, I sat in a small room at the federal courthouse. Robert was across from me, no glass between us, just a table and 2 lifetimes of love turned to ash. "You have 10 minutes, the guard said. Robert looked older, smaller, like the boy who used to cry when he skinned his knee. "Mom," he started, then stopped, started again. "I don't even know what to say." "Then don't say anything. Jessica's divorcing me. Her lawyer came this morning. She's claiming I coerced her into everything." I wasn't surprised. She's good at being the victim. How long did you know? About her past? Marcus's investigators found out 2 weeks ago, but I suspected something when she mentioned Plan B that first day you threw me out. Robert's hands shook. I didn't know about her ex-husbands. I swear I didn't know. Would it have mattered? He was quiet for a long moment. No, probably not. I was so desperate, Mom. The debts, the creditors calling, Jessica saying she'd leave if I didn't fix it. So you chose her over me. I chose wrong. Tears ran down his face. I chose wrong and I can't take it back. No, I said, you can't, I said. The FBI says I could get 5 years. Jessica might get 10 because of the interstate fraud. He looked at me with those eyes that used to beg for bedtime stories. Will you write to the judge? Ask for leniency? I pulled an envelope from my purse. I already did. Hope flared in his eyes. I told him you were raised better than this, that somewhere inside there might still be the good boy I raised, but I also told him that you need to face the consequences of your choices. That's the only way you'll ever change. So you're abandoning me? No, Robert. I'm setting you free. Free from my enabling. Free from my constant forgiveness that never let you grow up. I'm setting us both free. I stood to leave. Mom, wait! He pulled something from his pocket. A photo, worn and creased. Him at 5, on my shoulders, both of us laughing at some long-forgotten joke. I've carried this everywhere, even through all of it. Then you carried it while you made me homeless. I know, I'm a monster. No, I said, taking the photo, looking at that happy little boy. You're just lost. But Robert, I can't be the one to find you anymore. You have to find yourself. Will you ever forgive me? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Maybe. Someday. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean we go back to what we were. What does it mean then? It means I let go of the anger so it doesn't poison my new life. But you won't be part of that new life. Not for a long time. Maybe not ever. I love you, Mom. I stopped at the door. I know. That's what makes this so sad. The guard opened the door for me. I walked out without looking back, the photo of 5-year-old Robert in my hand. In the hallway, I dropped it in the trash. Then I pulled it back out. Not ready to throw away the boy he was, even if I had to throw away the man he'd become. 6 months later, I stood in the Eleanor Harper Foundation office, watching Sam coordinate housing for 3 new families. He'd been sober for 5 months, had reconnected with his daughter, and ran our operations like he'd been born for it. Mrs. H, he called out. The Martinez family just moved into their apartment. Kids are already in school. The Martinez family. No relation to the officer who'd fined me. Just another family who'd been living in their car. Just another set of kids who'd been washing up in gas station bathrooms. Now they had a home, stability, hope. Sarah Wellington knocked on my office door. Eleanor, ready for lunch? We had lunch every Wednesday now. She'd become the granddaughter I'd never have, filling a void I hadn't even known existed. I have something to tell you, she said over salad at our usual spot. I'm pregnant. I nearly dropped my fork. Sarah, that's wonderful. It's a girl, and if it's okay with you, we'd like to name her Eleanor. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. This brilliant, accomplished woman wanted to name her daughter after me. Also, Sarah continued, I've been thinking about what you said about Robert, about forgiveness versus reconciliation. Oh? My mom, my adoptive mom, she died when I was 20. But before she did, she told me something. She said holding on to anger is like holding on to a hot coal, hoping to throw it at someone. You're the only one who gets burned. That afternoon, a letter arrived at the foundation. Robert's handwriting. I'd received 12 letters from him in prison, all unopened, all filed in a drawer marked, "Someday, maybe." But this one was different. The return address wasn't the federal prison. It was a halfway house. I opened it. Mom, I got early release for good behavior and cooperation with the FBI about Jessica's other crimes. I'm not asking for forgiveness or money or anything. I just wanted you to know I'm in therapy. Real therapy. I'm working at a warehouse, living in a small room, starting over. I know you can't be part of my life, I understand. But I wanted you to know I'm trying to become someone you wouldn't be ashamed of, even if you never know about it. Love, Robert. P.S. Jessica got 10 years. She was running the same scam in 3 states. I sat with the letter for a long time. Then I did something I hadn't done in months. I recorded a voice memo. Day 273. Today, I learned that my son is trying to change. I'm not ready to let him back in my life, maybe I never will be. But knowing he's trying, it loosens something in my chest I didn't know was tight. The foundation has helped 47 families get off the streets. Sarah is naming her daughter after me. Sam is 5 months sober. I have a life I never imagined. And it all started with the worst thing that ever happened to me. Maybe that's the lesson. Maybe we need to be broken completely before we can rebuild into something better. Maybe losing everything is the only way to find out what really matters. That evening, Marcus stopped by the foundation with a check for another $1 million. "What's this for?" I asked. "Sarah told me about the baby. Consider it little Eleanor's college fund, plus enough to expand the foundation to Seattle." "Marcus, you've already given so much." "Eleanor, you saved my daughter twice. Once from death, once by showing her what courage looks like. There's no price on that." As he left, I stood in my office looking out at Portland's skyline. Somewhere out there, someone was sleeping in their car tonight. But maybe not for long, not if I had anything to say about it. Boundaries aren't cruel, they're love for yourself. My story ends here, but yours is just beginning. If you're in your car like I was, or being hurt by family, remember, you deserve love and respect. Never forget that. Like and subscribe if this story gave you hope. Share it with someone who needs to hear that rainbows come after storms. And remember, sometimes miracles come from places you never expected.